I have a simple, straight question. I, like 7,500 other people 2 years ago, put pen to paper to make a submission to the wind energy guidelines. I'd like to ask the Minister, when will those be delivered on?
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. A very similar question was put forward earlier on. I'm not sure if you heard it. In December 2013, my department published proposed draft revisions to the noise, setbacks and shadow flicker aspects of the 2006 wind energy guidelines. These draft provisions propose the following: the setting of a more stringent day and night noise limit of 40 decibels for future wind energy developments, a mandatory minimum setback of 500 metres between a wind turbine and the nearest dwelling for amenity considerations, and the complete elimination of shadow flicker between wind turbines and neighbouring dwellings. A public consultation process was undertaken on these proposed draft revisions to the guidelines, which ran until February 21st, 2014. My department received submissions from over 7,500 organisations and members of the public during the public consultation, as well as yourself, Deputy. It is intended that the revisions to the 2006 Wind Energy Development Guidelines will be finalised as soon as possible. In this regard, account has been taken of the extensive response to the public consultation in framing the final guidelines, and this had a very large influence on the work that has been undertaken, I might assure you. Further work is also advancing to develop technical appendices to assist planning authorities with the practical application of the noise measurements aspects of the wind guidelines. The more you dig into this, obviously, with the development and expansion of these type of turbines, there are far more technical issues. My department is advancing work on the guidelines in conjunction with the Department of Communications, Energy and Natural Resources. The revisions to the Wind Energy Development Guidelines 2006, when finalised, will be issued under Section 28 of the Planning and Development Act 2000 as amended. Planning authorities and, where applicable on Board Penala, are required to have regard to these guidelines under Section 28 in the performance of their functions under the Planning Acts.
Thank you.
Minister, I've been asking this question for the last 6-8 months. I'm still getting the same type of waffle coming from the department. I asked a straight question here today: when will these guidelines be put before us? So as the people out there, the 7,500 people who made submissions to you, who made the effort, who have been waiting for about 18 months, and they've been led up the garden path on this, we need those decisions to be made now. Even in your own strategy for renewable energy 2012 to 2020, it says here to ensure best practice planning and permitted procedures and coherence between environmental and renewable energy objectives. And it also says winning public acceptance around environmental and other impacts and securing benefits for local communities. None of that has happened, Minister. There are 7,500 people out there, organisations as well, who made submissions to this proposal, and they're still waiting a year and 3 quarters later. Can we not get a decision on when you're going to issue those guidelines?
Thank you. Minister.
Deputy, thanks for your reply. This is a very important issue. It's something that I have taken a very direct interest in. There's a huge amount of work which, working with Minister Coffey, we have undergone. It's quite a technical area. I can assure you that virtually all of the work is done. There's a piece left on setback distance from a technical point of view that needs to be executed and dealt with. And once that is done, in conjunction with your party and with your, my government colleagues in Fine Gael, once they support it, it will be brought forward. And they'll be brought forward as quickly as possible in that framework. We have to be quite cognizant of the fact that I'm over planning. And through that process, I will bring out guidelines that are best for planning. There are other departments who have an interest in this for other reasons.
Thank you.
In relation to requirements from an energy point of view, which also pulls back on the fact that we have targets under 2020, which we all know from a energy.
Again, Minister, I just say you're a straight talking minister and have been straight talking all the way along. I've asked you a straight question here today. Can you give me a straight answer to the question, please? I even stated in such a way that you didn't have to make a statement on it. You could have just said yes or no when those guidelines will be out. As I said earlier on, there's 7,500 people made submissions waiting for those guidelines. There's communities out there who have planning applications going through on Board Penala at the moment, who are now making decisions based on the guidelines from 2006. We are now waiting 18 months for this decision. Can we have a definite date as to when those guidelines will be published?
Thank you.
Deputy, it's a matter for government when these are released. It's a matter for the whole of government when these are released. So you might want to refer that to your party leader in Taoiseach as well. The second issue is that when I say about getting the mix right, and trust me, I have executed all my work in relation to this topic, completed, absolutely majority of it is all done. There is a little bit of technical stuff that needs to be dealt with. But when we're talking about getting the balance right as regards ensuring our requirements under 2020 are there, that's important too. My main focus is on planning, and I have very definitive views on this issue as regards turbines, heights, locations and all of that. I have very definitive views, which I am sure the Deputy is aware of. They have to come through government, Deputy. They can't just unilaterally just come through myself. They have to come through government. But as part of that, in relation to that mix, we have to ensure that every sector is covered and protected going into the future from an energy point of view and from a climate change point of view. In particular, a sector that you have a keen interest in and I have a keen interest in. It's called agriculture.
Question number 10 in the name of Deputy Lawler.
Thanks very much, Minister. I suppose this question has arisen because there's an awful lot of heated discussion going on with regard to NAMA at the moment. And I'd just like to inquire of the Minister, what engagement has he had with the department or with NAMA and local authorities? Because NAMA have a lot of lands currently at the moment which have planning permission. And it would be incumbent on us to make sure that the local authorities have an opportunity to purchase these sites.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ceann Comhairle. The Government has enabled and facilitated NAMA in playing an important role in the delivery of housing supply generally and social housing in particular. In that context, NAMA affords public bodies first option on the acquisition of land and property required for demonstrable public purposes. NAMA is also funding the construction of new residential properties to help meet demand in the major urban areas. And last year, for the record, NAMA funded nearly 50% of the new housing output in Dublin, despite having less than 1/3 of the residentially zoned development lands in Dublin. Since the start of 2014, NAMA has funded the construction of over 2,000 new houses and apartments in the Greater Dublin area. In Budget 2016, the Minister for Finance announced that NAMA, having carried out a review of residentially zoned sites under the control of its debtors and receivers, is aiming to fund the delivery of a targeted 20,000 additional new homes before the end of 2020. This is in addition to NAMA's ongoing and central role in facilitating the delivery of new commercial and residential space in the Dublin Docklands Strategic Development Zone. Residential developments funded by NAMA are subject to the same planning and regulatory requirements as all other developments, and this includes policy relating to social housing delivery as set out in the local authority housing strategies in line with Part 5 of the Planning and Development Act 2000. Given the vital importance of ensuring that, for social and economic reasons, new residential supply is delivered as quickly as possible, NAMA will work closely with local authorities and with the utilities to ensure that all relevant bodies cooperate effectively to deliver the programme. In the context of social housing delivery in particular, NAMA has had an ongoing engagement since December 2011 with my department and the Housing Agency in identifying properties that might potentially be suitable for social housing purposes. To the end of September 2015, a total of 1,600 NAMA residential properties have been delivered for social housing use, comprising 1,241 completed properties and a further 359 that have been contracted and where completion work is ongoing. A further 486 properties are considered as being active transactions, whereby terms are agreed or active negotiations are ongoing by the parties involved. An additional 440 properties are to be further appraised, but overall, Deputy, I expect that in excess of 2,000 units for social housing purposes will be secured from the engagement with NAMA. Thank you, Ceann Comhairle.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Minister. Just a couple of points. The one thing that concerns me most is that local authorities in their engagement with NAMA may also be just waiting for the developers who are working with NAMA to deliver on the 10% social and affordable. However, both myself and I'm sure Deputy Durkin too as well know in the Kildare area that there are a number of sites that have planning permission at the moment that are in NAMA, and that the local authorities seem to be reluctant to engage with NAMA on the purchase of these sites. And that would make it easier, because the announcements that you've made over the last couple of weeks or months have been very welcome, but they are on sites that don't have planning permission. We have to go through the section or the Part 8 process, whereas I'm identifying sites now that have planning permission that are in NAMA and that could be taken up straight away and be built on either for social or affordable type housing schemes that were in the past. So individuals who are on the housing list can either gain houses or be in a process, be in a position to actually purchase houses through a local tenancy scheme.
Minister.
Thank you, Count Cora. Look, as announced on Budget Day, Minister Noonan has asked NAMA to carry out an analysis of development sites controlled by its debtors and receivers with a view to identifying the scope for residential delivery for the period up to 2020. I think it's important to note that their target of 20,000 residential units by the end of 2020 estimates that 90% of that will be in the Greater Dublin area, and that includes places like Dublin, Meath, Kildare and Wicklow. Given the vital importance of ensuring that for social and economic reasons new residential supply is delivered as quickly as is feasible, NAMA will work closely with local authorities and with the utilities to ensure that all the relevant bodies cooperate effectively to deliver on this programme. Thank you, Count Corlett.
I want to, if you don't mind,
just quick, come back again.
Can I just call in Deputy Mulhern, because she's been sitting there for an hour.
No, I accept.
And
just quickly,
our time is up.
Will you communicate with the local authorities
yes,
on
I'm
this,
sure
please,
you will, yes.
Minister?
I'm aware of Deputy Mulheron's question.
Sorry, would you just reply to him there? Just very quickly.
Yes, there is ongoing engagement,
yes,
and we will encourage our further deeper engagement, because it is in everyone's interest that we deliver as many housing units as possible. Thank you.